Christelle, thanks a lot for joining us this afternoon on Newsnight. Now, sure, you're warning that, load shedding in itself could have severe implications on households as well as businesses, but particularly in some of those items that are really close to us and which also are quite expensive. So where do we start and how do we best protect ourselves, even at that level of policy, signing that insurance policy and not looking at the fine print?
Well, I think we all know that at this time when we're covered in this cloak of darkness, we're most exposed. Not just the damage to our electronic equipment, but to us as individuals from a security perspective as well. So we ask our consumers and policyholders just to use common sense, business owners and individuals. Make sure that you first and foremost have the policy cover in place and that you understand what it is that you have and what you're paying for. And then we ask people to take common sense steps. So for instance, unplug your expensive electronic equipment before the power comes back on. We all know that power surge is a major issue. Not only can it damage your equipment, but it can also actually lead to home fires, which we have seen, as well as fires in commercial businesses. So be very aware of what the risks are and make sure that you've got the right insurance cover out there and that you're getting what you're paying for.
Well, I must ask with this one, Christelle, are actually insurance companies covering for load shedding or any form of damage that comes as a result of load shedding? Because I remember some fine prints, even when it comes to policies, they'll say that we don't cover against natural disasters such as cyclones and all those kinds of things. But when it comes to the modern or the current insurance policy, does it actually cover any damage as a result of load shedding? Any geyser bursting, any alarm system going off, anything that is not that goes off or becomes damaged as a result of load shedding specifically, is it covered by many insurance companies?
Okay, so the majority of insurance companies will cover you either in full or a portion of power surge damage, and of course your fires as a result of power surge. But not all insurance policies are created equal, and this is why it is so incredibly important that you check your policy, talk to your broker, and always understand that if you're going to try and go out on your own and just go for the cheapest premium, that you'll end up paying less. But there was another question, part of that question that you asked just now, and this is around the alarm systems. Again, it's relevant to individuals as well as commercial businesses. Your insurance company expects of you to make sure that your alarm system is maintained and that your backup batteries are in a working condition. Now, these backup batteries are not built to be triggered by load shedding constantly, as we've seen the last, whatever it is, 8 or 9 days. So we really do urge policyholders to also make sure that they are maintaining their alarm systems, that if there's a burglary during load shedding, that they are paid out.
Okay, so looking at the fact that, many South Africans, as you said, that not all insurance policies are created equal. So then what must we look out for specifically? Must we go through the fine print and say, if it does not necessarily say we will cover you at X amount and it does include load shedding, then maybe you should start looking at other policies that will be working for your benefit? Because in often cases, you're right, South Africans are trying to save. South Africans are in a very difficult economic time and they would want to get the best policy, but also the most affordable policy. So how then do we start reading that fine print and actually making comparisons? So when I make that phone call, I don't have an agent telling me, sorry, ma'am, didn't they tell you that we don't cover this?
Well, first I would advise that you get a broker. You don't normally pay more just to have a broker. The broker is paid for by the insurance company by way of commission. But if you are going to go on your own and go to a direct insurer, phone them up and ask the question, or send them an email and say, am I covered if my house burns down as a result of power surge? Will my cell phone be covered if it is damaged during a load shedding and the power comes back on? Ask the questions. You don't even have to read your policy schedule. If it's on record that you've asked and it's confirmed that it's covered, you will have the cover. The same goes for your commercial businesses. When companies are, you need to ask the question, is if my business is interrupted as a result of a power-related issue, will I be covered for that? Will my contents of my fridge, either in my company or at home, be covered if it's destroyed as a result of extended load shedding? So ask the questions and don't just sit back. You can always read your policy document, but we know people don't do it. But that is the first step, is read your policy schedule. If you don't want to read it, phone up your insurer or your broker and ask the questions and make sure that you understand what your risks are and if you are adequately insured.
And I mean, there are various points that you go through, and I mean, that has been articulated around, I mean, you mentioned some, like testing your alarm system, making sure that you've got reserve power that is installed. Tell me about this issue around, just be careful of the generator, because in often cases, South Africans right now are trying to opt to get a generator, but sometimes that the generator could be a very costly exercise, number one, but also could be very dangerous if it's not utilized adequately. So just give us some tips from a business perspective and also in households. Households are starting to see generators as the modus operandi, really, during this time particularly.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, don't operate a generator inside of your home. You know, it's very dangerous. But something that I can't stress enough, and I've actually had experience of a specific claim like this, if you install a generator, make sure that it is installed by a qualified electrician, because if something goes wrong, the insurance company will want to know that it was done properly, that it was installed according to all the regulations from the electrical board requirements. And if it's found that you tried to do it yourself, you didn't do it correctly, the house burns down, you could end up losing, all that money and suffer a severe personal financial loss. So don't try and cut corners. Don't be hasty, because load shedding is something that we have to deal with right now. Make sure that you follow the correct steps, that you work with reputable electricians, that you have all your paperwork in order, and don't operate the thing, the generator in your home, because of course the fumes can lead to, also some severe personal ailments. So that doesn't make any sense. Make sure that you follow the rules.
Well, definitely following the rules, but I think that South Africans now have to become more vigilant as we face load shedding. And thanks a lot for giving us those tips and also just insights around how is it that we can become best suited and best protected during this time. We've got Crystal Coleman there from Old Mutual just giving us some more insights around load shedding.